Good evening. As we continue now on the Mishnah at the beginning of Perek Chelek, I want to share with you another couple of ideas on this that I have seen. First of all, from the Sefer Tiferes Yosef from Ishbitz, he brings down a very interesting explanation in Parshas Pekudei. We find in the Torah three types of truma, that there were three kinds of donation that Klal Yisrael had to give for the Mishkan, for the tabernacle. There was the truma that was given each and every single year for the karbanos tzibor, for the sacrifices that were offered by the public. And for that truma, for that donation, everybody was equal in terms of the amount that they were required to give. Also, for the trumas ha'adonim, for the sockets that formed the foundation of the Mishkan, also everybody was equal in terms of the donation they had to give. And finally, there is the truma for the actual building of the Mishkan, and on that, the pasuk says, "Isha sher yidvenu libo," that each person was invited to donate however much they chose. The Tiferes Yosef explains the symbolism of these three donations as follows. The trumos for the karbanos, that is for Klal Yisrael as a whole. Those are all karbanos tzibor. Those are karbanos that are given for the entire Jewish people. And for that, everybody's equal. Because when Hashem decided to create the world, it was Yisrael Ola b'machshava tchila. First he thought about creating the Jewish people, each and every single one of us in the exact same way. Then he goes on to explain that the Adonim, the foundation of the Mishkan, that represents the Kol Yisrael Yesh Lem Chelek La'olam Haba, that every single member of the Jewish nation has a portion of the world to come. And once again, in that respect, we're all equal. There's no difference between us. And finally, there is the Truma for the building of the Mishkan. That's the transition, how we get from here to there. How do we get from Hashem's plan to create us, where we begin, all the way until the end of Olam Haba? On that, each person's donation is different because we each choose and create our own path. This was actually something that was reminding me of what the Baal HaSulam writes. Because the Baal HaSulam says that the state of prior to creation and the state of existence after creation are the exact same. It's only what goes on before creation and after creation, that little bubble in which things are different. So we all begin equal in Hashem's plan to create us. We all end equal in the portion of Olam Haba. And again, it's only how we choose to make the transition from the one to the next, in which each and every single one of us is different. Rav Shor Yosef Cohen quotes his father, the Nazir, as saying that the reason why the pasuk that's quoted over here, in terms of the fact that everybody has a portion in Olam Haba, is the pasuk of La'olam Yirshu Aretz in the plural, is because that which we get Olam Haba has nothing to do with reward. Because as we said, the beginning and the end are all the same no matter what. The transition, how we get from here to there, is up to us, but at the end of the day, we're all going to end up in the same place. But the reason why we get Olam Haba is because we are part of the Kol Yisrael. We are part of Klal Yisrael, of the Jewish nation as a whole. And even though the Mishnah later on, and we'll talk more about this in our next class, discusses those who do not have a portion in Olam Haba, but the reason for that is because those are all people, as it says in the Haggadah, Shahotzi Atzma Min HaKlal, who divorce themselves from Klal Yisrael as a whole, and therefore they don't get their Olam Haba, because getting there, it necessitates being part of the Klal, being part of the group as a whole. One of those cases which is mentioned as losing their portion in Olam Haba was Hahoge es Hashem ba'osiyosav. That's somebody who speaks out the name of Hashem in its constituent letters. And there's actually a difference of opinion among the Mefarshim, among the commentators, exactly what name of Hashem we are referring to. Some explain that it refers to Hashem's four-letter name, and that's why generally when we refer to the name we say Yud K Vav K, because we're not supposed to speak out the letters of the name, while others say that it's referring to the 42-letter name of Hashem, which some of you may recognize because in one of its permutations it spells out the Rashi Tevos, the beginning letters of the poem of Ana B'Choach. I did see that the Sefer Margolius Hayam, I'll just take as an aside for a minute, the Sefer Margolius Hayam was written by somebody named Rab Ruvain Margolios, who lived in Israel starting from around the 1930s until he passed away in the 1960s. He was actually a librarian, and he was an absolutely amazing Talmud Chacham, amazing Torah scholar of the absolute first rank. And he had a tremendously broad knowledge of Torah that is just absolutely mind-blowing. And among his Sfarim is Margolius Hayam on Sanhedrin, in which he compiled a phenomenal commentary just by drawing from literally hundreds, if not thousands, of sources. And what he quotes on this idea of Haghoges Hashem Ba'osiyosav comes from a Sefer Olam Echad. The Sefer Olam Echad was written by somebody named Rebbe Eliezer Fischel. I've tried for many years to discover some biographical information about him, but it's been very hard to come by. He was the rabbi of a city called Strizov, and he wrote a fascinating sefer called Medrash Lepirushim, which has not been reprinted in centuries, literally, as well as a commentary on a very esoteric Kabbalistic work called Dan Yadin, and then finally a sefer called Olam Echad. And in Olam Echad, he gives a very interesting explanation on the idea of Ahoge es Hashem Ba'osiyosav. Why is it wrong to speak out the letters of Hashem's name? And even though obviously he doesn't quote the Baal HaLeshem, but I'm going to begin by sharing with you an idea that the Leshem says, which I think fits in very well with the approach of the Olam Echad. The Baal HaLeshem explains that the real meaning of Hashem's four-letter name of Yud Kei Vav Kei is the one who is always in the present. Keeping that idea in mind, the Olam Echad says, based on the Yerushalmi, that it says that Ben Kamtsar did not want to teach writing. It's not a Yerushalmi, it's a Bavli. And Rashi explains, why didn't he want to teach writing? He had a special trick of how to write Hashem's name. He would take 4 quills in 4 fingers and simultaneously write Hashem's name, all 4 letters at the exact same time. And the Fei Mara, which is a commentary on the Yerushalmi, says, because in order to write Hashem's name properly, that's the way to do it. Because you don't want one of the letters to be appearing before or after any of the other letters. Again, with this understanding that it means that Hashem is always present, always here, so there can't be a concept of beginning and end to Hashem's name. It all has to come into being simultaneously. So the Olam Echad wants to suggest that that's why we should not speak out Hashem's name. Because in order for us to speak out Hashem's name, the only way we could do it is to say the letters consecutively. And the minute we're saying the letters consecutively rather than simultaneously, then we're not properly expressing the meaning of Hashem's name, which means that everything is in the present. And he explains that that's why also the Arizal says that when the Kohanim used to speak out Hashem's name in the Beis HaMikdash, they didn't actually say Hashem's name, but the Arizal says it would come out of their mouths. So the Olam Echad says, why is it that it came out of their mouths rather than for them to speak the name of Hashem? It's again the same idea, because it came out of their mouths the entire name at once. And had they tried speaking the name of Hashem, it could have only come out one letter after another.